Hi.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you gals?
Okay. Good, good, good. So as Leslie said, I don't know how much you heard. We
Little.
are, yeah. Sorry, we like we do this out. Speak about
So
inventory.
we thought we were going to continue, like it was kind of a good discussion that we had last time about inventory and supply and how it drives pricing and how they look and also how the mortgage rates factor into the whole
Right,
equation.
right.
Sure. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest, I think, buyers have a big concern because the inventory is very limited, right? But I think a lot is being done or trying to be done to help buyers or stimulate buyers to come back into the market because I think they held back for a while. I will say that I'm seeing a lot more buyers come into the market now, and you can comment on that, Maria, if you're seeing an uptick in mortgage applications. But I think that people realize that affordability and the low inventory is a real factor for buyers today. And so really what could help these buyers, right? So I heard that the government is trying to prevent or they're setting some I don't know if a law, but where big Wall Street investors are not allowed to buy up big pools of this is single family
Right.
homes
Yeah.
that would obviously free up some inventory. Obviously, the interest rate comes down a bit more. That will also encourage buyers and allow them to, compete in this market. I will say the market is very strong, and at least in Westchester.
Right. And I'm sure it's
Yeah,
a surrounding. I hear that,
right,
also all the surrounding areas. Connecticut's very strong. New
Oh
Jersey
yeah.
to
Yeah,
be
no, I
very.
mean our applications for January are, higher than what our projections were. So it's been really robust. We even had a really robust December. Typically December is usually like,
right.
you know,
Yeah, no,
nobody's around.
I agree.
Um Yeah, and I mean, look, I think that it's probably a confluence of factors. You know, first of all, interest rates are lower, than they were this
Right.
time last year. And they've been in that same sort of pattern for a good, 5, 6 months. Um, Also, too, like we are what now 3 years out of the pandemic. I
Right,
think that, we're the whole thing of like, oh, the 2%, the 3%, like the further we get away from that, the longer we
right,
get away from that, like the more people are forgetting, like, okay, that was a thing. And
right,
by the way, it was a blip, in the screen. Like
right,
where rates are
right,
now is really more where the norm has been for mortgage rates anyway.
Right.
um, and so I think too, like people who have a need are realizing like there's no sense in me waiting anymore. If you can qualify and if you have the funds, now's the time. And because inventory is so, like, what is going to happen that's going to make inventory
Well,
explode
okay.
immediately,
Oh, right.
right?
Look, I think not immediately. I think
Right.
if investors are not allowed to buy big pools of single family homes, that will
Yes.
free
Yeah,
up
that's good.
some
Yeah.
property.
Yeah,
If
for
they do
sure.
so, well, if they loosen up on the ability to get permits and they make the whole process of new construction, whether it be for single family homes or big tracts of land, if they make that easier for a builder, that will help,
Yeah.
obviously, stimulate some building. It may not help overnight, but it will definitely help. Rezoning an area, making a denser population in an area where it's only single family homes, that will free up. That will also encourage, a more new construction and,
But we are definitely seeing a lot of new construction. I mean,
right,
specifically like Toll Brothers seems
right,
to have really, like I noticed there's several developments that
right,
I have a few
right, up for the
things going
spring,
on. There's one right off the Sprain in Yonkers, and there's another one
the
that's
enclave,
the Enclave in Armonk. Like
right,
that's sort of like certain, like a whole new host of
Yep.
homes are available,
right.
which weren't. I mean, and and there are other communities like that throughout
Yeah.
Westchester
No,
that
no, for
I
sure.
started to see, and I'm sure you have it in Staten Island
Right,
and
In the
surrounding.
right,
city. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
So,
just got off the phone with somebody that told me about a new project in Manhattan, like a small condominium
Right,
project
right.
that, it's been 3, 4 years in the making and now they're ready to start selling, right? So there's that too, right? Like these projects that started maybe during the pandemic are now actually, coming to market.
Right.
Right. I will say though, the inventory is starting. It was like almost for 2, 3 weeks, Christmas, New Year's, even the first week of January, like nothing. I'm starting to see some houses trickle on in all communities, right?
Hmm.
Especially Southern Westchester. I think you see more inventory, let's say in Yorktown up north.
Yeah.
Clearly in Scarsdale and Eastchester and New Rochelle and there's almost you're starting to see a trickle of homes
Yeah.
and we're both in terms of things that are move-in ready, which is obviously more appealing to people
Right.
Yeah.
as opposed to, but I am seeing houses come on, like the houses coming on, let's say in New Rochelle, White Plains in the eight to 900, those houses all need work. If they're
Hmm.
in the sixes or sevens, they're usually,
Falling down.
yeah, falling down for somebody who wants to flip a property.
Right.
But things just under a million, that seems to be like a new benchmark, right?
Yeah.
Of like an entry level, I hate
Yeah.
to say it, of
Yeah.
where
There
you
was a
can
whole
move in.
article about that, I think, in
Right,
the Wall Street Journal or the New York
right.
Times this week. Is $1 million the new entry level home price? Yeah.
I'm starting to think so because anything like over a million people say, oh, even though there's a mansion tax, right, of 1%, it's
Yeah.
still like people are not so scared about it anymore. They say,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I could afford that.
As long as they know about it ahead of
Right,
time, I always say, as long as you know what you're walking into, that's the best thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what your expenses are, your mortgage taxes, 1.05%, and
Yeah.
you can
right,
do the math so that when you make an offer, you know that you're able and you're not going to be strapped later. So the important thing is
Right.
to know what you're walking into.
right.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to look. I took some statistics just off because I can see that comparing December to December now, January, I'm going to see an uptick in the inventory. I believe so from a year ago, clearly in February. But just so you know, in Scarsdale, just to say, in 2024, a year, okay, in December compared to 2025, a month ago, 10 listings both came on the market at that time. Uh, However, days on the market dropped from 50 to 40 days, which
Mhm.
is pretty good.
That's
White
great.
Plains, only new listings in December, 9 houses.
In a big city, so if you
Yeah,
think about it, it's like very dense there. I mean,
right.
right,
Single
yeah,
families, though.
right, but it's still a big place.
Correct. On the market, 43 days to contract. I mean, that's pretty good. And then you look at New Rochelle. From 2024 December till 2025 in December, 11 homes came on versus in this past December, only 9, right? Days on the market went from 50 days to 38 days. It shows how quick. And Eastchester, I think there are only 6 houses or 7 houses, single family on the market currently. And new listings in December 2024 went from 3, okay, to this past December, only 1 new listing. That's to me like, and it went from 63 days on the market to 33 days. So you
Wow.
could see the activity. And I'm sure this is, if you look at Harrison, Mamaroneck, it's similar. I think
Hmm.
as you go up county,
Maybe it's a
you'll
little bit,
see that
yeah.
more.
It's still like, I mean,
Even Armonk is nothing.
Armonk and Chappaqua, like they're
Yeah.
also very busy markets,
Yeah.
so and a lot of desirability, because
Very
Yeah.
it's
A lot of
desirable. Just
desirability there.
you also
right.
because if you can, the commute's very reasonable. You can
And
get
your
to it,
taxes are good in Armonk, right?
right?
Hmm.
So it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to compare this, in February from a year ago to this year to see the inventory that comes on the market.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
even.
I was just about to say, I think that like I always feel like the spring market in New York starts about mid-February, right?
Right,
Even though we're still
right,
in the winter,
right.
and that we will probably, see even more homes come to market at that time.
Right.
Yeah,
And I would imagine the houses don't show as well in the middle of the winter with the snow and ice versus
Right.
Right,
like
right,
it's
right.
just not as pretty, there's
Right,
a
right,
plants.
right. It's not when like you ideally would want to list your home, right? So
No, but the only good thing about listing at this time, I will say there's always a plus and negative. If the
yeah,
inventory still remains low,
low, right?
it stimulates the bidding. And I'm seeing
Yeah,
an enormous amount of bidding,
yeah,
and you can see it too, Leslie, right?
Yes.
Where people are
agreed.
really, by not by a little, but by several 100,000
Yeah,
over
nope, I
the
see it. I
asking.
see it on my side as well, for
Right,
sure.
right.
Right. I mean, when it hits us, basically, both of us, it's usually done already. It's sort of like then it's the mad rush to get into contract, get the approvals so that we can,
Right.
we're both at different levels of it, but usually by the time it gets to us, we don't necessarily know about all the bidding. It's just, I know it has to move quickly.
Right.
So,
But I could tell you the bidding, I mean, I've given offers on properties and just in the last week, significantly over asking and, you know,
Rejected.
rejected. And so it's like, and I spoke to, it's interesting, we were speaking just before we connected, Maria, about, I've received 3 calls from brokers today, from other realtors, asking me if I'm working on any listing that I'm getting ready to list or if I know of privately.
Mm,
So, and this is all over, not just,
right.
in any area. They said, this is my budget. My client can spend up to X amount, 2 million or
Yep.
whatever it was.
these are the towns of
Yeah.
interest, that kind of thing, which
And
is
Listen,
smart.
I had 2 clients in the past 2 weeks that had accepted offers and they fell apart while doing the contract because somebody else came in with a higher all cash offer and you know
right, right,
and the seller was like, sorry, not sorry.
right,
Yeah.
right. Too
Money
bad.
talks.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think to sum up, I think it's an interesting market and I think it's, we've seen this bidding, especially at the end of COVID and last year or two, but it was quiet for a while. People seemed to be more reasonable, or it wasn't so much like bidding activity. But now, it's frustrating for the buyer. So hopefully, they will have some good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Okay.
there's some options.
Yeah, or some
And
optimism.
we're looking forward to a good spring market.
That's for
That's
all of
right.
us.
I'm
Okay.
manifesting that.
All right. All right. So until next week, have a
All
great
right,
weekend.
guys. Have a great
I
weekend.
hope it doesn't snow too much.
I
Goodbye.
know. I mean, it's all over the place, the forecast. So I've just stopped looking and listening. I'm like, whatever it is, it's going to
Right.
be.
I just bought 40 pounds of snow melt.
There you
In anticipation. All right.
go. Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.